The main reason for e-invoicing mandates is definitely to reduce tax fraud and close tax gaps. What countries want to achieve here is visibility and control. Governments want a clearer, a real-time view of business transactions, and e-invoicing makes that possible. It allows governments to access transaction data almost instantly instead of reviewing it months later. At the same time, the second point is that many countries are using e-invoicing just to modernize how businesses operate. Have a look at Sweden. We don't have a mandate there for B2B, but many companies already use the PEPL network to submit and retrieve e-invoices. So yes, tax fraud is the main driver to e-invoicing, but we also see a shift towards processes that are focusing on digitalization and standardization. If an invoice isn't compliant, it will normally be rejected by the tax authority or the customer, which in turn will delay payment and impact your cash flow. This can result in significant fines depending on the size and location of the transaction, not to mention the time cost of correcting and resending the messages in question. Plus, unreliable invoicing will inevitably create friction with customers and partners, which can damage both future business prospects and your reputation. The main difference comes down to when the tax authority gets involved. In a clearance model, invoices have to be submitted to and approved by the authority before they are sent to the customer. So the transaction is effectively validated in real time. In a post-audit model, the invoice is being sent to the customer first, and the tax authority reviews them later, usually through audits and reporting requirements. From a practical point of view, clearance models are more restrictive because everything has to be right up front, while post-audit models give you more flexibility, but still require you to stay compliant in case of checks later on. Responsibility for e-invoicing is typically shared across internal teams. The finance or tax teams are generally responsible for compliance and making sure invoices meet legal requirements. IT handles the systems and integrations behind it. In some cases, operations or procurement are also involved. Given its cross-functional relevance, it's very rare for e-invoicing to be owned by one department alone, which is why clear responsibilities and coordination are essential if you want to be able to keep everything running smoothly. E-invoicing can be handled by internal teams, but that doesn't mean that this is always the best approach. To manage it internally, you need to cover a lot of moving parts. That includes keeping up with changing regulations across multiple countries, maintaining mappings for different formats, handling integrations with your ERP system, and making sure transactions are monitored and issues are resolved quickly. On top of that, you need people with both technical and compliance knowledge, as well as processes in place to manage updates and testing on an ongoing basis. For companies without those resources in place, it often makes more sense to work with a fully managed provider. The ERP system is the source of your invoice data, so integration is essential if you want to achieve efficient automation. Without ERP integration, invoicing processes will require manual actions at some point, which will in turn increase the risk of errors and delays. With proper integration, invoice data flows automatically into the required formats and systems, improving efficiency and data visibility. It also makes it much easier to scale e-invoicing across multiple countries. The timeline depends on the scope. A single country rollout with a simple setup can be completed in a few weeks. More complex projects involving multiple countries or systems can take several months. Internal readiness also plays a big role in determining how long a project will take, especially when it comes to data, processes, and resources. Generally, the best way to ensure your rollout as fast as possible is to adopt a phased approach, starting with key countries and expanding from there. Beyond country coverage, the main thing you should be looking for in an e-invoicing provider is how much they can help to reduce the day-to-day burden of e-invoicing. A key thing to consider here is how their solution integrates with your ERP system. If this connection isn't solid, everything else becomes harder to manage and data visibility will be poor. Another important thing to consider is how regulatory changes are handled. Ideally, updates should be managed centrally without requiring input from your team. And finally, it's a good idea to look for a solution that is flexible and able to support you as requirements change.